Hey, what's up? I'm Keandre Schultz, creator of Essays on Life, a philosophical guide to fulfillment, where I take an essay and a video and I pair them together and throw them at your face for maximum learnification. I'm educating your face. So today's essay was all about my thoughts on weed, and this video is about reasons why I shouldn't smoke weed, except I take those reasons and I debunk them. So let's get started. Reasons why I shouldn't smoke weed. Number 1, smoking anything is bad for your lungs. False. A study published in Journal of the American Medical Association in January of 2012 actually showed that smoking marijuana does not impair lung function at all. It can also be shown to increase lung capacity. That's pretty awesome. That means you can actually store more oxygen in your lungs. Think Michael Phelps. Now, I'd also like to note that there are tons of professional athletes who smoke weed. If it was actually bad for your lungs, these guys would be making really poor decisions and they would not be professionals. They'd be out gasping on the field, on the court, in the water. You know what I'm saying, right? But what about cancer, right? You're worried about getting cancer randomly from smoking weed. Well, I'll have you know that no one ever in the history of planet Earth has been recorded to get cancer from smoking weed. Actually, no one's ever been reported to die from smoking it alone either. So that's pretty incredible. And if for some reason you're still worried about your lungs, which I could understand from the point of view of someone who's worried about the actual rolling papers that they're smoking or the butane from a lighter, then vape it. You know, use a vaporizer, because that way there's no smoke, no combustion, and no butane. Or go the way I feel like, you know, Mother Earth designed it and actually eat, you know, a pot edible, such as a brownie or something like that. That way you don't even have to worry about your lungs at all. Number 2, it's illegal. Well, only in certain states, and it won't be for long. Plus, a good citizen does not follow the law too closely. I already spoke about this in the essay, so go read that if you didn't already. That's all I'm going to say. Number 3, I could have an asthma attack. This is a tricky one. I did some research and I found that marijuana causes bronchodilation, which is the expansion of the lungs, a good thing, unlike cigarettes, which causes bronchoconstriction and tightens your lungs, and that's what's going to cause, you know, an asthma attack. So people with asthma are going to be basically doing the same thing as using an inhaler when they smoke weed. I looked on some sites that did not advocate marijuana use for people with asthma because, you know, I want to be open-minded and play both sides. And I found that they agreed that the THC content, the chemical in marijuana that gets you high, is the chemical that actually causes bronchodilation. That is what opens up your lungs. But the other, you know, things in the smoke, whether it's from the rolling papers, like I said before, or just other debris in the smoke, because it's smoke, you know, it's dusty, that stuff can irritate your lungs, and that can cause, you know, an asthmatic reaction. However, your lungs are being opened from the THC, so it's like this back and forth thing. You don't know what's going on, right? Well, I looked on some forums, okay? I know this isn't the best place for some solid, you know, trustable sources, but I wanted to see people's personal opinions and experiences, and I found almost everyone agreed that I'm talking about people who had asthma on these forums, right? And they're saying that smoking weed actually got them to stop using their inhaler. Like, it worked better than an inhaler and actually helped, like, heal them from asthma. That is insane and really cool. But of course, it's just stuff I found on some forums. So what's my opinion? Well, my opinion would be to use a vaporizer, because that way you're not getting any smoke and none of those other irritants, but at the same time you're getting the THC, which would mean you're actually going to help out your asthma, which would make it seem like having asthma is a better excuse to actually vaporize weed, you know, use weed, than to not use weed. Maybe don't smoke it, that's really up to you. I mean, if you want to smoke it, you should probably use a bong so the smoke's cooled, you know, and not take ginormous rips, you know, so you're not completely irritating your lungs. But I mean, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, so don't trust me on that one. Number 4, it could be laced. First of all, I want to point out that you can only make that argument because of the fact that marijuana is illegal. Thanks to the prohibition, we have, illegal drug dealers selling this illegal drug, so things can turn out sketchy. But if you think of places like Colorado and California where you can actually just walk into a store and buy your marijuana, it's not going to be sketchy. Otherwise, the store's going to get shut down, get sued. And they're not selling other drugs there. It's not like they're going to lace the weed with cocaine or meth, because the only thing you can buy at a marijuana store is marijuana. So yes, obviously I think marijuana should be legalized, but if you're getting it in an illegal fashion, which I understand, then you have to use common sense. And I think it's common sense to not take weed from someone that you don't know, or when you don't know where it came from. You got to be careful with this because you're dealing with underground stuff. Now, it is not very common for marijuana to be laced as it is in pop culture, because the other harder drugs, that they're going to be lacing into the marijuana are generally more expensive. So the dealer would be losing money by doing that. Regardless, some people are just, super paranoid about it. So you can look online and there's dozens of ways to be able to test your weed, or just to check and make sure that it's not laced. You have to be careful, be responsible. This isn't for everyone, and maybe you're better off waiting until it's legal. You have to be responsible. Responsibility can mean different things to different people, but if you're at a party and somebody offers you a joint, I don't think that's responsible to take it. If it's just a stranger and you have no idea where that came from. Number 5. It kills brain cells. I really hope you know this one's not true, okay? So I'm going to make a little shortened synopsis of the story, because I've got a story for you. So in 1974, President Ronald Reagan was asked about his thoughts on decriminalizing marijuana. Now, President Ronald Reagan was not for marijuana for certain reasons. And so what he did is he got some scientists together and he asked them to perform a study for him. And the study was called the Dr. Tulane/Heath study, I believe. And here's how it went down. Alright, I've got the notes on my phone. Let me check. Okay, the results showed that when monkeys smoked an equivalent of 30 joints a day, they began to atrophy and die after 90 days. Reagan announced that permanent brain damage is an inevitable result of smoking weed. Now, this has been used in propaganda for decades. Marijuana kills brain cells. Most people have heard this before. For a long time, this was like my main reason for not wanting to smoke. I mean, it sounds like a good reason. This study was done by some professional scientists, and the President of the United States of America announced that marijuana inevitably kills your brain cells permanently. That's horrifying and would instantly make me not want to smoke weed if it were true, okay? How do I know it's not true? We'll get to that. So ever since that study was made, other studies were done, by different people, different groups, and those studies, trying to see if it really did, damage your brain cells, found that it didn't. And some of them found that it stimulates brain cell growth. But of course, nobody listened to those studies, right? Because the president said otherwise. So these other groups, that were supporting marijuana use were hounding, the Dr. Tulane/Heath study to try to get them to release how they conducted the study. How did they get the results that they claimed they had gotten? But it was top secret, and it was never released until, I believe, the year was yeah, which is crazy that it took that long to happen. But it was. So correct me if I was wrong on the date there. But you can actually find the entire study and everything in the description. I have a link to it. Anyway, here's the ways they actually conducted the study. To summarize it, the monkeys had gas masks strapped on and were pumped with the equivalent of 63 Colombian strength joints in 5 minutes. 5 minutes, guys. You have a gas mask and nothing but smoke coming through. How do you breathe? It's just smoke. Of course, there's going to be some oxygen, but not very much. When you're experiencing oxygen deprivation for that long, it's inevitable brain cells are going to die. The monkeys were suffocating. You can't last that long without oxygen. So there you have it. That's the truth. Thanks, Reagan. Number 6, it makes you depressed when you're not smoking. Well, first of all, I want to make it clear that there's no chemical compound in marijuana that actually makes you depressed. I think it's pretty commonly known that marijuana does the opposite effect on people. However, if someone is unhappy with their life and they try using a drug such as marijuana to improve it, they're not going to find lasting happiness. It's not a long-term solution. If they continue to smoke weed rather than getting up and taking action to try to fix the problems in their life, their marijuana is going to become a crutch for them. And then they're going to become more depressed as they become more tolerant for the marijuana. And they keep needing more and more and more to try and stay happy. And it just won't work out. From my personal experience, I have 3 friends who've smoked weed to get over depression, right? One of them, she was really depressed. She smoked for the first time, one time, and she got over her depression, and it worked like magic, and she's doing fantastic right now. And she hasn't smoked since, as far as I know. The second friend, he smoked weed, regularly for quite some time, and he went in and out of depression. And I don't believe he still smokes anymore, but he goes in and out of depression still. The third friend, it's kind of like the first example that I was giving. He is depressed and he'll smoke to try to get out of it, but as soon as he's done smoking, he'll need to smoke more because he'll sink back into the depression. And he's actually not taking action to, fix the problems in his life. So it's not marijuana that causes depression. Using it can help you get out of your downward spiral and bring you back to a state where you're like, wow, life can be really cool. I can enjoy myself. And then you should use that momentum to get you out there to fix, whatever is causing the actual depression in your life and fix the problems. But if you just use this as a crutch and you're just like, wow, this feels good, and then it's gone and you're like, oh man, I need more, and you just keep doing that, then of course you're going to get more depressed than you started out, and you can thank marijuana for that if you want, or you can blame yourself. Go out and take action. That's what personal development is all about. That's what Essays on Life is all about. And anyways, if you actually started feeling depressed after smoking weed and you never were before, then the solution is to stop smoking weed. You don't have to continue. 7, it makes you paranoid. Alright, I know a good amount of people who smoke weed, and none of them are paranoid as far as I know. Now, I do believe it can make you paranoid. That is for sure. There are people out there who will get paranoid from smoking weed. I will not deny that. However, it's not everyone. The type of people I think it is that it makes paranoid are the type of people who feel that they need to have control over everything in their lives. The type of people who don't like going on roller coasters because of their lack of control. Not because of the fear of the drop, but someone who's just scared because they can drive a car and know that they have the brake and the gas and the steering wheel. But in a roller coaster, you just have to sit back and relax and enjoy the ride. They don't like that. I think that's the kind of person that would freak out when smoking weed because they couldn't just enjoy the high. I don't know that for sure, but that's my 2 cents. However, if you smoke weed and you become paranoid and you don't like being paranoid, then I would suggest that you stop smoking weed. It's not like you're married to the kush. This is such an easy fix. None of the effects of marijuana are permanent. So, if you get paranoid after smoking your first time, then stop. 8, it makes you lazy. Okay, I think that is the most ignorant and uninformed argument a person can make about marijuana. I don't even want to talk about it. Just Google successful marijuana users. Or look at this image that I made, the faces of marijuana. Check it out. These people, are they lazy? I mean, I'm sure they are at some points of their life, but I mean, they made it pretty far. 9, I'd rather drink alcohol because it's safer. False. And it makes me so upset that people are lied to about this. Here, check out this article that I found at drugfreeworld.org, which sounds like a legit trustable source, right? Oh, but it's not. The article says, marijuana contains more than 400 known chemicals, including the same cancer-causing substances found in tobacco smoke. First of all, coffee contains 1,500 chemicals. Rat poison contains 30. The amount of chemicals in something means nothing. And then they say weed contains the same cancer-causing chemicals as tobacco smoke? Really? Like cyanide, benzene, formaldehyde, methanol, ammonia? Because it doesn't. Remember, I even told you, no one's ever gotten cancer from smoking weed. Ever. Okay, then the article goes on to say, pot smokers tend to inhale deeply and hold the smoke as long as possible to increase the effect of the drug, worsening damage to the lungs. I'm pretty sure I already referenced a study that showed that it can actually improve lung capacity and that it does not impair lung function at all. Plus, what does that even have to do with alcohol versus weed? Then the article says, alcohol is eliminated from the body in a few hours, but THC stays in the body for weeks. How is that even an argument? First of all, you'd have to make the claim that THC is bad for you, which they can't make because it's not. Oh, just kidding, they went that far. It says THC damages the immune system. Alcohol does not. Okay, this might be their best argument. Although there's no proof that marijuana damages your immune system, there's no proof that it improves it either. I did find studies that showed marijuana smoke can temporarily suppress the immune system. Not in an end-all fashion, of course, but just a temporary suppression. However, that suppression is due to the smoke, not the THC. So if you're actually worried about suppressing your immune system shortly, then vaporize your weed and you totally bypass all of those problems. Yeah, so see you later, drugfreeworld.org. Please be open-minded, and try to look at both sides of things when you find like an article on the internet, especially with like no sources for anything that is so strongly opinionated about something. Be careful. Before I move on, I want to stress that I think it's really messed up that most teenagers have absolutely nothing against underage drinking, whether it's them or their friends, but they get really, weird about smoking weed. When they hear that someone smoked weed, it becomes something to gossip about, and they go, oh man, did you hear that guy got stoned? What? He smokes weed now? But if somebody just drinks, it's like, oh, okay. And I'm not trying to be a killjoy here, but that frustrates me because marijuana is much, much, much safer than alcohol from the research that I've found. Alcohol is actually something dangerous and not to be played with. So I invite you, I challenge you to actually go out on the internet and research alcohol versus marijuana. I want you to find out what you think to be true, which you would be more comfortable with. Because if you're comfortable with drinking alcohol but not smoking weed, that is a problem because you've been brainwashed. In my opinion. That's just me. So if you're gonna drink, drink responsibly. And if you're gonna smoke, smoke responsibly. And keep your mind open. And that concludes reasons why I shouldn't smoke weed. But why should I? Reasons why I'd like to smoke weed. These are just the reasons why I think it's interesting and it could be a cool experience. Number one, I'd feel much safer smoking a bowl than taking an aspirin or an ibuprofen, because these medicines are things that can be hazardous when you take too many of them, over a certain amount of time. Think Brett Favre, he got addicted and had like some problems going on. Or they can be lethal if you overdose and take too many at the same time. Remember, you can overdose from marijuana, and I just feel much safer taking a natural pain-relieving herb than some chemical created in a laboratory that can actually be dangerous, and I don't even know like what it is. I just haven't studied drugs like ibuprofen and aspirin enough to feel comfortable taking them, and I just can't see them being safer than like this natural pain-relieving herb that has countless health benefits, aka marijuana. Number two, being high looks like a blast. Yeah, that's my childish teenager reason, but I mean, it does. It looks cool and it's something I'd like to experience. I actually don't have a desire to be drunk, however, because it just looks like it sucks from like my friends who've told me about it. It just sounds gross, and no, I'm not interested in that. Plus, weed is much, much safer than alcohol, again, and it's more responsible. Number 3, it can help you become more creative. I'd really like to try tapping into that that mindset of open-mindedness, I don't know, that weed gives you, that allows you to be more creative and better at problem solving by thinking outside of the box. That'd be something cool to experience because I live such a creative lifestyle. 4, I'm very much into yoga and meditation in Eastern cultures, and I know that marijuana smoking has been done, religiously over there. Not done religiously, but done for religious purposes, in Eastern culture for thousands of years. So I would like to try meditating while high and seeing what that's like, and doing yoga too. 5, I love just sitting and thinking. I read into Terrence McKenna. He would just do different types of psychoactive drugs just to experience the essence of consciousness. And I'd like to do that, whether or not it's just with marijuana, but just sit and think and, just dive into my consciousness, or the universal consciousness, if there is one. 6, I'm really into burning incense, and I just love how it smells and just how it makes you feel just relaxed. And that's kind of the same reason I like to smoke weed, because obviously it's really relaxing, and I think it'd just be a really chill thing to do. Just chill on the couch, light some incense, and just talk with someone, have a deep talk, and just relax, listen to some good music, because it supposedly makes music sound better and food taste better, and I don't know, just sounds like a cool experience. 7, the release of stress and resistance in the body will only allow it to heal faster. 8, smoking weed with friends seems like a really unique way to bond. And that is it. Don't just support the legalization of marijuana because I do. As the Buddha would say, do not believe in anything simply because you've heard it, but after observation and analysis, when you find that anything agrees with reason and is conducive to the good and benefit of one and all, accept it and live up to it. So if you found value in this essay or video, please share it with your friends. If you're a fan of essays on life, don't forget to head over to keandreschultz.com and sign up for my email newsletter. That way you can be the first to be notified about any cool new deals or just content that I've got to throw at your face, and it'll be thrown at your face first if you're signed up for my email newsletter. So go do that if you want to stay up to date, and you have permission to love life.